Okay. We are gonna clarify a few things about the 3D print guns that I did not think of last time. Now, I am gonna put some links below. TFB TV was showing gun shop in Afghanistan. The video where the guy makes a 3D printed AR-15 receiver. And maybe a couple others that I see pertaining to it. One is a throwback from Barry and Eric. It was a gun gripe with Barry and Eric, and it was uploaded posthumously. Now, the fear and phobia that the far left, which includes many of our politicians, is spewing out is that people are gonna take the people are gonna take the blueprints for these guns, make guns themselves, and they're gonna hijack all the crazy shit. In fact, it's exactly what Chuck Schumer said in 1986 about the Glock. Now, in truth, you can get blueprints for guns dating back to the invention of gunpowder. Because as long as there was written communication, you could find a way to make a gun. Ben Franklin himself could have hand cranked his printing press to show you how to make a fucking Revolutionary War rifle. Not a musket, a rifle. We've all seen the guys on YouTube that have the cleaning mat. A lot of guys use it for a mouse pad where it's got the Glock or the 1911 or the AK or the AR or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And it has the blow up print where you see all the schematics and all the little all the little parts, okay? I could buy books on guns. Larry Vickers does 1911 and AR-15. Okay, detailed books where you can buy detailed prints, detailed schematics. Okay? And according to federal law, I can literally I can look at these schematics, like the friggin' mouse pad, and I can literally take every single solid type part, order it online, with the exception of the receiver, and I can assemble the entire gun with the exception of the receiver from parts online. In order to get the receiver, I have to either get an 80% lower AR or Glock, and they'll have more later on in the future, and cut it out on the templates and drill press and this and that, or bite the bullet, go to the FFL and pay what $150 for a strip they are lower, and assemble it that way. Okay. Now, for God knows how many years, you could have gone out and got machinery to build guns in your house. And according to federal law, you can build a gun in your house if you keep it for yourself and don't sell it. And if you sell it, then you gotta have FFLs and serial numbers and shit like that. Okay, and there were varying degrees of mechanical guys, smart guys that could have done it. Example, my father, he's 83 now, early stage Parkinson's, 2 minor strokes, but 40 years ago, 35 years ago, my father in his prime was a master welder, master machinist, and if you ever come to New York City, you can actually see scaffolding that he did. You can see signs he did still up 35, 40 years later. And my father's boss owned a shop in New Jersey, and my grandfather and my great uncles ran it for him. And my grandfather, who was Army engineers in World War II, he would make these metal framed Christmas decorations, bells, Santa Claus, snowman, snowflake. He would build this decoration out of iron, steel, whatever you want to make it out of. He would put garland on it, put lights on it, wire it, and we still have in the family. My sister has snowmen, and my uncle has bells. These are things my grandfather made 4 decades ago. They still look brand new. In fact, if you ever look at Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, when Macaulay Culkin meets Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern for the first time in that movie, he runs away, there's a giant snowflake in the air. My grandfather made it, in parts, shipped it to New York City. My father's crew assembled it, hung it up, and they said, after Christmas, leave the snowflake up because John Hughes is gonna film a movie down here, and John Hughes wants the snowflake in his shot. Okay. And my grandfather could have got some machinery together. He could have got some blueprints, and he, my great uncles, and my father, in his shop in Jersey, they could have made some pretty functional guns. They weren't really gunsmiths, but if they had the right machinery and the right blueprint, they could have definitely made some really nice break shotguns. They could have definitely made, if they had a rifling machine, they definitely could have made some old-fashioned Browning style single shot rifles. Okay. So the capabilities were there for years. Blueprints were available for decades, centuries even in some cases. The machinery, could you buy it? Could you build it? Okay. And like I said, if you built your gun yourself in your house and it was your gun to keep forever, legal. If you were building the gun yourself and selling it on the black market, problem. And now we have the 3D print guns. And the truth about the 3D print guns is this. And you look at the gentleman who made the, look down below for the link, I'll have the description too. The gentleman who made the 3D print gun, he got requests to make bongs, dildos, and guns on his 3D printer. And he chose guns because guns were the one of the three liberals hate. So he printed an AR-15 low receiver. I know I mentioned this before. He printed a 3D print AR-15 low receiver on his 3D printer. And it's not 80% low, it's an AR-15 low receiver. But when he tried to fit the mag, it wouldn't go in properly. And he said I could sand it out a little bit, but then I gotta have these other holes line up to put the small parts in. And then he said, assuming that if he could make this AR-15 low receiver work properly, and if he did order all the parts online and use this print AR receiver to build up a gun around it and bring it to the range, he believed his range would literally have him arrested for endangering them. Because he also believed that if he fired that 3D print gun, it would have blown up in 3 shots. Because plastics and shit like that cannot hold up under pressure. Okay? The receiver can be plastic, all the parts have to be metal, but the receiver itself will break after the 3rd shot. That's what he believes. Okay? And he said that you want to make a gun that's going to work properly, you're going to need to buy one of those $100,000 industrial printers, which can print with alloys and metals and things like that. Now, this brings us to Barry and Eric. Barry had a skull that his friend made on a regular 3D printer, not a big industrial shit. And it was a Terminator 2 skull. You know, the Terminator 2 movie yeah. And it was a heavily detailed Terminator 2 skull. And it was about yay big. Barry said it took the guy a couple hours to do it. Okay, now, when you buy your $100,000 industrial printer, it's probably going to take a couple of minutes to print the springs and shit. But as far as printing the barrel, the receiver, all of the bullshit, upper assembly, lower assembly, blah, 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 okay, you have to print every single solitary part individually and assemble them individually. And they say terrorists are going to do this, okay? There's a video down below you're going to see. It's gun shops in Afghanistan. Okay? You could walk down the street in Afghanistan and buy this gun for $200, this gun for $400, okay? Fairly decent guns at a fairly cheap price. I don't know how much the average guy in Afghanistan makes though. And there's not a lot of federal regulation in Afghanistan. Okay? There's not a lot of that shit going down. So if a guy in Afghanistan, or pretty much every Middle Eastern country for that matter, could walk down the block and buy a fucking gun, a nice gun, for $250. Some of the guns imported from Turkey, some of the guns are Russian leftovers, and they literally have fucking guys in Afghanistan making 9mm handguns. nice 9mm handguns, mind you, not shit. So if you could be in Afghanistan and you could walk down the block and buy a fucking gun, any gun you wanted, for fairly decent price, nice guns, why the fuck would you spend $100,000 if you had it to get a 3D printer and print shit? Okay, as far as rifles are concerned, okay, pretty much every place in the Middle East and a whole bunch of other third world countries for that matter, every place in the Middle East, you could literally walk down the block and buy an AK-47 at the market. And when I say AK-47, I mean AK-47. I mean 30 round mag, full auto. Okay? Because they're Soviet Union leftovers. Okay, also, if you live in a country that recently deposed a dictator, you could literally walk down the fucking block and buy a rocket launcher for what, $100? Okay? That's not a joke either. So who the fuck is gonna be in Afghanistan or Syria or Uzbekistan, okay, and buy $100,000 fucking machine, put it in their house, and print fucking gun parts and scroll? Who the fuck is gonna do that? Okay, as far as smuggling and past metal detectors, okay, let's talk about that now. And this dates back to Chuck Schumer in '86 and Chuck Schumer 2.0 now. Like I said before, if you print the AR-15 or any other receiver on that regular 3D printer, that's plastic. That won't show up. But all the metal components surrounding it are not plastic. They will show up. Just like the Glock. The Glock has a polymer frame. Well, polymer has metal in it, plus the magazine, plus the feed lips, plus this, plus that, plus the ammunition, plus the firing pin, plus the slide, plus the barrel. All that shit is metal. It's all metal. Now we have the Liberator pistol. I heard Liberator pistol several years ago. In fact, when 3D print things happened a couple of years ago, the first thing they talked about was the Liberator, the new Liberator. The old school Liberator was hammered together with sheet metal here in America, maybe other allied countries. It was dropped behind enemy lines, and the hope was that civilians in occupied territories would find the Liberators, pick them up. They were a single shot 45 ACP gun with a plain barrel, no rifling, and you literally had to take the gun, shove it into the guy's body and pull the trigger and kill him, and pick up his rifle and engage in behind enemy line sabotage. Cool. The Liberator old school took longer to load than to make. Very, very cheaply made. No rifling, no accuracy. Okay, I could probably fucking pick up a Liberator right now and point at the camera, and I'd probably fucking miss the camera. That's how accurate it was, okay? You gotta be up against the guy. Now this new Liberator thing they have now, you've seen it, okay? Once again, it's entirely made out of plastic. Now the firing pin is metal, and the bullet is metal, okay? There goes your metal detector, right? Or your scanner for that matter, your X-ray machine at the airport. Now, the entire assembly, including the barrel, is plastic. Do you want to fire that with your bare hand? Because I don't. Okay, I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. And like I said, the 3D printers take a long time to print, several hours even. So if it took longer to load a Liberator than to make it on the old-fashioned machines, but it takes hours to print a little fucking Terminator skull on a 3D printer, how long is it going to take me to print a Liberator on a 3D printer? Here's the issue. Let's take the common guns. Let's take the public domain guns, okay? The AR type rifle, the AK type rifle, the 1911, and break shotgun. And to be fair to the 1911, we're going to use Rock Island Armory standards as opposed to Wilson Combat standards. Okay? Tell a guy to make an AK the old-fashioned way, where you stamp the part out, put it together. Okay? In fact, the AK, you want to talk about buying guns cheap, making guns cheap, okay? During the Cold War, the Soviet Union had guys that couldn't even read in a factory. They take a piece of sheet metal, put it on a thing, hit a button, a press comes down, boom, goes apart. A couple guys do a couple different parts. Then one guy that can read assembles them, and that's your AK, and that goes to the terrorists. Okay, and that is why the AK-47 is death incarnated, because it was cheap to make, cheap to build, cheap to assemble, and the Soviet Union gave it out for free. Okay, that's why. So you take a guy with a factory and tell him to make an AK with the old school machine, press this, stamp that, okay? And then tell a guy with his $100,000 industrial grade 3D printer to print the AK. Print every single part individually and assemble them. Then move on to 1911. According to Rock Island Armory standards, Rock Island Armory makes their fairly simple 1911 compared to other brands, fairly cheap, okay, cost effective. Print a 1911 and assemble it, okay? Then do an AR-15 on the machines. Then do an AR-15 in the 3D printer, okay? Here's the issue. I will bet you any amount of money right now, and then those are the old school break shotguns, by the way. I will bet you any amount of money right now. How much money? $1 million? That in the time it takes one guy to 3D print every single individual part on this $100,000 machine and then assemble them. AK guy, AR guy, 1911 guy, and a break shotgun guy could have made hundreds of units on their old school shit. Okay? Hundreds. It could literally take, if it took a couple hours to print a Terminator head on a printer, how long is it going to take an industrial printer to print the AR receiver? And then you got to take every single part and fit them together? Are you fucking kidding me? You would probably, I'm not even joking when I say this, if you got, let's say you wanted to buy an AK-47, and obviously that's be the all that compliance shit with the semi-automatic, okay. You buy an AK-47, American legal AK-47, from a guy that made the old-fashioned one on the machine, in the factory, with the ATF license, shit like that. Okay, I'll go and I'll buy my AR-15 from the guy that printed on a $100,000 printer. I'll bet you any amount of money you'll pay under $1,000 for your AR-15. I'll probably pay about $8,000 for my AK-47. I'll probably pay about $8,000 for mine. And ditto for all the other guns in the line. You got a break shotgun for $200. Simple break, single barrel, okay, shotgun, $200. Guarantee you, I'll be paying $2,000-3,000 because every single part must be printed individually. Little parts take a couple minutes, big parts take a couple hours. Fitting, adjusting, assembling, okay? It's not worth it. Here's the truth of this shit, okay? This is a giant fuck you to the government. That's what it is, okay? They did this because they could, okay? Even though blueprints have been available in the public domain for eons, okay? Even though I could buy machines right now and assemble them and make a gun. This is all fairly new, okay? They figure, here's another communication form, internet. Here's another manufactured form, 3D print. Let's cause a panic. And there's a link I'm gonna put down below. I forget who the fuck it was, but that's in my history. I'll print out for you. He said, and I agree with him, they're not stupid. They know they're lying. They just want to cause a panic. All these politicians, they know for a fact you can't make a plastic gun. They know for a fact if you want to make a decent gun on a printer, you got to buy the $100,000 job. They know that for a fact. But they want to scare you to the polls. It's all about getting you to vote. That's all it is. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's fucking hype. Okay. They recycled the scare. Okay. Blueprint is replaced by downloadable blueprint. Okay. 3D machine is replaced by 3D printer. It's all bullshit. Thank you. Good night.